Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel. And today we have with us another special guest, and she goes by the name of Brooke Elliott. Brooke is the founder of Be Complete Coaching and Consulting, LLC, and former leadership development and education enablement executive in the medical sales space. She coaches, trains, speaks, and consults in the areas of business, leadership development, synergistic teams, and dynamic cultures with a focus on building positive culture through change. This is a fantastic episode packed full of knowledge that anyone in any space within their career can learn from, especially those leading the way. As always, we do our best to bring you innovative guests that are doing things differently in the medical sales space, and I really do hope you enjoy this interview. Hey, Brooke, how are we doing today?
I am doing well, Samuel. How are you?
Fantastic. No complaints. Trying to get it all completed by the end of the year. I know you know what I mean.
Oh, it's right around the corner.
Yes, it is. So why don't you tell the audience who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Brooke Elliott, and I am your champion for change. I help both individuals and organizations transition through change through coaching and consulting. I'm a certified life and executive coach, also a Myers-Briggs practitioner and HR organizational development practitioner, and I absolutely love what I do.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. So when you talk about the companies you help, give us the type of companies you help.
So there really isn't any prescription when it comes to a type of organization that I would help. So nonprofits, manufacturing, healthcare, you name it. I think it really depends on what the need is of the organization. And that's really where I get more specific.
I think your career journey is fascinating, Brooke, because
Oh, thank you.
you've been in the healthcare space as a professional, and then you took the leap of faith and you started your own business, and here you are today. Let's dig into that a little bit so everyone here can hear all the things that you do. So where did you start? When you came out of college, what was the path? Was it that one day I'm going to be the founder of B and I'm going to help all these people in these organizations? Or was it just something else entirely?
So my two majors are biology and French.
Okay.
So I don't think that I foresaw that I would be a coach or consultant
But you
down the line.
You majored in French?
Oui.
Wow.
Tu
Okay.
parles français?
Pause. No, I know none of it. I've only been there once when I was very young. But I don't think I talked to that many people that major in a language, and that's fascinating to me. What inspired that?
Oh, Samuel, you're giving me way too much credit. You really are. It was one of those things where I had some really great teachers in middle and high school. And by the time I've got to college, I was able to major it in my sophomore year. I went to a very small school, and there was literally in some of my French classes, one other person. So it was like one-on-one interaction, which is fantastic. But it just kind of happened that way. But granted, you're giving me too much credit because I can't hardly speak a lick of it today. So
she's like, don't quiz me on my fluency here.
Please don't.
Okay,
Please
I receive. All right. So French and biology, very cool.
Yes.
What are you thinking you're going to be doing as you're graduating? What was the plan?
I mean, I wanted to be a naturalist. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I thought I would move to Florida or California. But I had a fantastic internship opportunity with a division of McKesson when I was in school, and that introduced me to that organization. And that's where I started to begin my journey of contract negotiations.
Wow. There's a lot of people in our audience that aren't familiar with all the amazing companies out there. Just in a sentence or two, what is McKesson?
Oh, there's so many divisions of McKesson. So the specific division of McKesson that I worked for actually did projects for the government. So think of like the NIH in Bethesda, Maryland. We were actually doing fantastic work for them on their research projects. And that, again, that's just a one piece of the McKesson puzzle, right? So, and that's the one I know best. Yeah, so I wouldn't speak fluently like French on all the other ones, but yeah.
So contract negotiation. So
Mhm.
you're doing that, and then what happens next? You're working for McKesson.
Yes. So I had a life change that brought me down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and it just so happened that my contract negotiation skills transferred very well to an organization called Premier Healthcare Alliance,
Okay.
which is a group purchasing organization. There's many different departments within Premier as well. And I sat within the sourcing team, and I had the opportunity within that role to negotiate contracts with medical device suppliers, med surg suppliers for hospitals across the nation.
And for those of you listening that aren't in medical devices, you're going to learn that GPOs and what she's talking about are critically important part of your business when you get into the position of being a medical sales rep. So this is awesome that you're sharing this with us, Brooke. Okay,
Thank you.
so let's get back into that. So you're working for Premier. You're doing well. I see that you got promoted over and over and over again.
Thank
Talk
you.
to us about, something was happening in your mind that said, you know what, I love what I'm doing and I'm good at it, but there's a calling I have. Share with us what happened.
Yeah, so if anybody's been through self-discovery before and learning about your personality type, I'm an introvert, and negotiating contracts, going to the negotiation table, learning something new was definitely outside of my comfort zone, but it's what drove me because I absolutely love to grow. I'm a continuous learner. I believe in that. However, as an introvert, we know too that the way that we direct and receive energy is that we really kind of take it, we are our best only for a little bit, and then we need to go and pretty much hide in the corner. So, right, take naps because we spent all our energy doing what we did. And I realized that it wasn't the best journey for me, not necessarily only because of the introversion, but because I just something in my heart told me that this isn't what I was supposed to do when I grew up. And I was open to exploring other avenues
Oh,
and very transparent about it. And that's when an opportunity showed itself within the organization.
wow. Okay. So the $1 million question that I have, you know, you get into founding B, you're working with all these different clients. At some point, I'm sure you had this epiphany that, wow, this is what I get to do now. Talk to us about, if you can, share with us as much as you can. What was that moment like? Give us as much as you can about when you had that.
Sure. So in my career, I had the opportunity to coach and mentor employees and to develop them within the organization, right? So next generation leaders, and I got to see them grow. And that was absolutely fulfilling to me. And I wanted more of that. I wanted to be able to help more. And I was grateful to have leadership that actually saw that that was something that I wanted to do and had asked me if I had ever wanted to explore coaching certification. And at the time, I had no idea that that even existed, but I went on the journey for 2 years and became a certified life and executive coach. But it didn't happen before I got some news that I was going to be impacted by a change within the organization. And it was absolutely instrumental, a huge change in my life. I'd been with the organization for 16 years. It was like my family, right? I was very dedicated to the work I did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it opened my eyes to the possibilities of how I could actually fulfill my dream. And that's when I made the decision I was going to work with my own coaches to go through a journey of if this is truly the journey I want to be on, or if I'm just clinging on to the first thing, right? Because I went on to get certified with the International Coaching Federation as well. And so January 3rd, coming up two years ago, I started Be Complete Coaching and Consulting.
Wow. Talk to us about the value of coaching. As a fellow coach, I know the value, right? I
Mhm.
do it. I've experienced it, but I do feel that not enough people understand what's actually happening. For the people that are listening right now, talk to us about what coaching is doing, why it's so important.
Well, Sam, I know that you agree with this, but when an individual is coached, right, we're not necessarily giving them the answers. We're not giving them the solutions to problems. We're actually pulling the resources out of them that they already have and allowing them to leverage their strengths, right, and the things that they have inside them versus allowing their fears to control them. Right. So, what's beautiful about the coaching experience is that it's a transformation from being an individual that may not be the best version of themselves or fully tapping into their potential to somebody that's uberly confident in going after their dreams with a bring it on attitude. And they understand that not everything's going to work all the time, but and we don't see failure, right? We don't see things as failure, but as opportunities, and that we're going to keep going. And to me, that's the journey of coaching, is that you're learning about yourself, what's possible, and then you take action.
What's something that is not as obvious with coaching that you don't think enough people know? There's a number of things that I saw and learned in coaching that you just wouldn't think about if you weren't in the field. Share with us,
Yeah.
I'm sure people are listening right now and they're thinking, yeah, I guess I could use a coach. I guess I see the value, but I don't really need one. I don't really want to become anything outside of just doing my job well and I guess being better. What are some of the non-obvious things that you could share about why coaching is so important for almost anyone?
Yes, it's a fantastic question. I actually do a speaking topic on from mentor to coach because folks, when you think about a coach, people not really sure they don't understand what it is compared to a mentor, right? And a coach it's a partner, it's a supportive partner, a confidential space where somebody can be transparent, right? Without any bias. They're not internal to an organization, so they're providing that outside perspective and support, right? Which is phenomenal. And it's not somebody that's just going to tell you what to do. They're going to help, again, bring the things out of you and to show you all the different resources that you have and put it on, it's like a platter on a table, right? So here's all the great things. Now, how do we move forward so that you are in a place of success based on your definition of success, right? But it also explores what's holding those individuals back from being there. And to me, that's the foundation of all of it, because the inner critics and the saboteurs, that's another podcast, but the inner critics and the saboteurs are what absolutely holds us back from being in those positions that we're trying to seek, that we've been seeking all this time, or being the leaders we're meant to be, or perhaps going for those positions that we really want to be in, right?
You couldn't have, you said it's another podcast, but we're going to talk about a little bit here. We have to. We can't be
Okay.
coaches and not talk about limiting beliefs. And I'd love for you to share on this. So, one thing that we see working with a lot of clients is we see people that they don't have the confidence. They have everything that they need as far as the actual skill set, the background, even the current position they're in. They have everything they need to get into medical sales, for example. But the confidence, for whatever reason, they're intimidated by. Talk to us a little bit about what it means to have these. You didn't call them limiting beliefs. You just called them, say,
Inner critics or
inner
saboteurs.
critic,
Yeah.
saboteurs. Talk to us
Hmm.
just a little bit about what that is, and then of course share with us how you help your clients manage that.
Sure. So confidence is typically born through experience and the decision that you're going to tackle anything moving forward, even if it is a failure, right? So a part of that is that voice in your head that's saying, oh, Brooke, you can't do it. You can't move forward. You failed at that before, or you're just not good enough. Right. So those inner critics and those saboteurs have an absolute negative impact on our ability to be confident. Okay. So that's a layer of it. But then also in building authenticity, if an individual doesn't know who they are and they fully haven't gone through a journey of self-discovery to understand their strengths, right, their personality, and you talk about medical sales, right, positions. I mean, everybody's in sales, but at the same time, it takes certain strengths and a certain personality to uberly achieve in those types of roles, right? And if you are fully not discovering who you are and whether or not your authentic self can actually be successful in those roles, you're going to go for something that perhaps you really just aspire to for whatever reason, or somebody else is pushing you towards, perhaps, right?
Sure.
So that self-discovery foundation is important, as well as being able to lower the voices of your inner critics. That leads to that greater confidence, ability to walk into that interview knowing that this is my line. There is no competition. Absolutely not. Because nobody is Samuel, nobody is Sally, nobody is Stan, right?
Absolutely.
We're all different. And if I don't get that job, then the person that does was meant to get that. And there's something else out there for me that's better.
Wow. It almost
Truly believe that.
It almost sounds like you're training people on having a harmony with life.
Oh, harmony is my word. Yes. I love it. I think stacks of rocks right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to give you a scenario and I want you to talk about how do people deal with this? So let's say you're naturally a confident person and you see yourself as a performer at your job, whether it's the job you had in medical sales or maybe something before you entered medical sales, but whatever you're currently doing, you see yourself as a performer, you're confident, you're bringing it. You have a bad quarter. Then you have another bad quarter. And now you're saying, okay, I'm a performer. I know who I am. I know what I can do. But gosh, 3 quarters now, my performance is not there. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought. What are you telling that person?
Well, right there is an inner critic. Okay. We want to get the individual to a place where that inner critic is no longer there. And typically, if you're going through the journey of actually tackling your saboteurs, you have developed a practice where as the minute you feel the emotion or the challenge or the change that triggers that, you're able to quickly lower it. So that individual, I would say first, going through a journey of understanding their inner critic is important. So when those types of situations, that's a change, right? It's a change.
Right.
When those types of situations occur, they don't falter. They continue forward. And that's when I also say, what other options are out there? What are you not thinking of? Because there's one element of who you are, self-discovery, and your confidence, but the other elements are strategy, right? So what are you not thinking of? Perhaps what is breaking down in the process? Is it that you understand yourself, but you don't understand the people that you're working with? How strong are your relationships, right? What are the other angles that you need to take?
Sure.
How innovative are you being, right? So there's a lot of things in that everybody can be taught. You can't be taught the confidence and the understanding of the inner critics as easily. That's something that really kind of grows over time, right? So I would say in that case, that individual would want to tackle that first and then go to strategy.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. When you have clients that they came to you because they're no longer experiencing the success they once experienced, well, let me ask you this. How common is that, first off?
I don't know if it's that they're not experiencing the success so much as it's that their heart isn't in what they're doing anymore.
I see. So I see. So the most of the people you're working with, it's not, I'm not performing. It's, I don't even want to be here.
And it could be that they're not performing because
They don't want to be there.
Yes.
So is that what you find most of the time when you do come across the one that hasn't performed? When you get to the root, is it normally because they actually want to be doing something else, or is it usually tied to something else?
Yeah, so it does come down to, I'll talk about my life coaching piece, right? It does come down to purpose, the leveraging of their strengths, right? And truly, if they're in a role that they're able to be successful in sustainably for the long run, right? But the other piece that comes up here is who they're working for, the culture, the why of what they're doing. And so that's why I love what I do. I get to do it on the front end, and then I get to work with organizations on the back end, where if their culture needs some help because their employees are finding that they're this person over here that doesn't want to do it anymore. Perhaps it's really not them. It's not necessarily their heart. Maybe it's the heart of the organization.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Well, when it comes to serving the people that you do, I want to understand what are the most common things you see when it comes to, let's start with the organization. you're about to start working with an organization, they're having issues. What are usually their issues, and what do they usually want help with?
Sure. The issues are that the individuals don't first understand who they are, what's important to them, and what strengths they can leverage in their roles, right? So they don't feel, say, appreciated. They don't feel like they're able to do the best in their jobs. Perhaps they're not on the right projects. And then the second level of that is that they don't understand their peers, their teammates.
Mhm.
So they're not engaging, they're not communicating, they're not collaborating. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that they're not taking the time to understand each other and leverage each other's strengths. I call it, and this was another podcast a long time ago, is collaborative quotient. When everybody kind of has their hands in the game and they have each other's backs because they know where their lane, they know their lane, but they also know and value the performance across the lanes, right? So I know that I have to perform here, but I also know the value of helping you perform because I'm strong here, and let me help you do that because you're not strong there, right? So that's part of it. I completely forgot the
Yeah.
question.
No, you're giving it to us. We're talking about the problems that the companies that you help. What are the most common problems?
Yes.
So we're getting there.
Yes.
What I also want you to kind of iterate here is, so when you have a company that you're working with and they're having these you just described, is it top down? So you're spending time with the CEO first, and then spending time with the managers, and then or is it bottom up, or is it something else entirely? How do you assess what's going on? I know that they're telling you one thing, but you still got to go and see what's really going on. How do you assess that?
Yes. So a good process is, it does start with the leader and hearing their perspective. But a good process to follow is to actually do interviews with the team so that I can hear their perspective as well. And that can maybe perhaps uncover and unpack some of the things that didn't come up from leadership.
So you need that time away from the leaders to really hear how the teams feel. How do you get them to share honestly?
Well, you don't ever fully know, right? But building that relationship and ensuring that it's a confidential space, right? And that I'm only taking away the common themes that I hear from the interviews so that I can share those back, right? It helps them share. It helps them want to be a solution to the problem that's actually come about in the organization. And, being that I have gone through many, many assessments and self-discovery exercises, there's definitely a level of implementing what I've learned in those situations.
Got it.
Hmm.
Now let's talk about that when it comes to leadership. If you could give a message to budding CEOs, people that are entrepreneurial, they have a service, they want to grow their company. You've seen a lot in your 2 years working with these different companies. What's a piece of advice you'd share with these budding entrepreneurs that want to be CEOs and want to have this, strong company that they need to be very mindful of that they might be missing?
One piece, or can I give three?
You know what? You know what? I set you up for that. Go ahead. Give it to us all. Give us everything, please.
Okay, so I go back to the foundation. The foundation is their own self-awareness, right? So the entrepreneurial mindset profile is a great assessment for those entrepreneurs to take to understand where they sit in that entrepreneurial mind, right? So that gives them a perspective on perhaps where they can improve, what they can adjust to be the best entrepreneur they can be. And also going back to self-discovery. So I believe in know thyself, and then grow others, right? And you can't grow others until you know thyself. So you spend the time doing it and you prove to your teams that you have done that, and then you invest back in them. And what that does is when you understand yourself, then you have the perspective to understand the differences of the team. You're able to then diagnose the team, and you're then able to make sure that you leverage the different strengths and abilities across the team so that your organization can perform at its highest. And then sustainable culture. Sustainable and aligned culture is what it's all about. If you do not build that at the beginning, because that is the foundation, if you do not build that at the beginning, there's a good chance that you're not going to grow.
Got it.
Yeah.
Culture piece. It's a tough one because, well, let me ask you, would you say the definition of culture is a subjective definition, or can you clearly just say what it means to have a culture at your organization?
I think of culture as kind of the collective behaviors, right? And behaviors, artifacts, assumptions that the organization is displaying, but then also saying in closed doors, right? So it's a collection of beliefs. It's a collection of things you see, honestly, see artifacts are things you see in the actual rooms of the organization. That's part of a ritual,
Sure.
actually. A lot of people say that like the games in the break room, that's not part of culture. Actually, in an aligned culture,
That's culture, yeah.
it is. In an aligned culture, you actually strategically place certain things inside the doors of the building that align to the foundation. So if you're a competitive culture, what kind of competitive games do you put, say, in the break room? But it absolutely are artifacts.
Wow.
I hope I answered your question
Oh,
there.
you did, you did.
Okay.
So with culture, then I guess what I want to get to is what is the to give your chance to create a powerful culture, a strong culture. What's that number one thing that needs to be done? And can it even be quantified as number one thing? Or is there like you said earlier,
Yes.
three things, five things, but is there something that can be done to give yourself the best chance of creating a very strong culture?
Yes, I believe it's setting the right foundation. So assessing if you're an organization that has been around, you're not starting up and you have a current culture, assessing that current culture versus your ideal state. Okay. And then setting that foundation. Again, I go back to the word aligned. So then your values, your culture statement, your operating principles, everything that you set for the culture to set the behavior of the individuals in the culture has to be aligned to that ideal state. That goes down to the even as deep as the words and the language used, the things they see on the walls, right? How you actually display those values. To me, that is the absolute starting point because that is the foundation. It's not the strategy because culture eats strategy for breakfast all day long, right? We know that you cannot execute strategy without a great culture because the culture is the people. It's the people. It really is. At the end of the day, it's the people and the things that the people create. I get really passionate about it if it's a
Love it.
little obvious
Love
to
it.
you.
No, I love it. I love it. So, and I think you're right. I almost want to, say that it seems like a lot of companies or the people in these companies, they operate with the ideal state in mind, but there's a disconnect between what is actually happening. And a lot of these leaders sometimes they don't even want to look at what is actually happening and they just want to focus on the ideal state. But to your point, how can you close that gap if you don't assess what's currently actually happening? Let's go to the individual now. You work with individuals of all types that want to perform or show up or find where they're supposed to be in their careers. Talk to us a little bit about what's the most common issue you see with people that you work with, individuals that you work with. What's the usually the common issue that you normally come across to?
Yeah. So, Samuel, this is the reason why I'm a life and executive coach because no executive, no individual can speak professional without life, right? No one
Facts.
can. Life
Facts.
always transitions into professional, and professional always transitions into personal, right?
Couldn't
We
agree
just
more.
know that. So, what I would say is that what always comes up is that life thing. When you talk about life coaching, it really is. It's those saboteurs, it's those inner critics that hold us back. That is when I talk about a foundation with individual coaching, that is typically what it comes down to. It always shows up every single time. Well, I'm not doing that because this, or I don't believe that I can truly achieve that. Well, why not? What's holding you back? It's usually a fear, or just that voice in their head that's saying, you've done this before. I've done that before, Brooke, over and over again. Okay, well, is that aligned to your purpose? Let's go back to that foundation and see perhaps if that's the reason, or if it's truly because this inner critic keeps showing up in your life. And how do we control that better so that you can truly move forward in the fashion you're supposed to? Always, no matter who the client is, it's always there.
Where can we find you? How about that?
So I am all the time on LinkedIn. And so you could follow me on LinkedIn, or you can reach me at Brooke at becompletecc.com. I also have a website, becompletecc.com. And I'm always willing to have conversations, assess if there's a fit. I have 3 questions I always ask my clients. Are you coachable? It's a great question because most of us will say we are. I always have 3 questions I ask potential clients. And the first one is, are you coachable? Because again, not everybody is coachable. And until we figure out through the coaching experience, perhaps that it just is not a fit. And it may be where they are in their life per se,
Sure,
right? Versus, the investment they're really able to make in
sure,
themselves.
sure.
The second would be, are you willing to put in the hard work? Because 6 months with me, you're going to have homework. I'm going to ask you some tough questions, and I'm going to ask you and require you to show up because I'm going to give you 1,000%. I need 1,000% from you. Believe it.
That's no other way to do it.
And the third one is, are you willing to change?
Mm.
Okay, so not change who you are authentically, even though in the self-discovery phase, we are really truly defining your authentic self. It's, are you willing to change these behaviors that are keeping you from moving forward? So those are 3 questions I love to ask my clients. And once we identify that and we identify those goals, and we're on the same page and we have identified that it is a great fit, we move forward.
It's awesome. How do you make this all work? You know, your career, you have a stellar career. You then are you're an entrepreneur now that's created this wonderful business that's providing all this value to all these people. How do you make it work with your social life?
I believe it's harmony is all mindset. I didn't always have that. I wasn't always able to manage it. Granted, I read a lot of books and you know, the one thing, the 12-week year, the 40X principles.
I'm
I'm a
laughing.
nerd,
I've read all of those.
right? I'm a nerd and you're a nerd too.
I'm like,
Right?
wow, she's really speaking my language right now.
The thing about it is that you have to apply it. So many people read these things, they learn these things, they
Goes
get
out.
coached through them, and then they stuff it under the table. You have to apply it. But it really comes down to mindset and setting those priorities and knowing how to set them well, right? What's important and knowing what's important to you. Part of your purpose, right? Why are you here? And what are you trying to achieve? And as long as you wake up every day with that mindset and that goal in your mind, I believe that things can go very well. And so when it comes to social, honestly, most of my social is either with my family or it's with the groups that I'm part of, which are absolutely, to me, my social life. I'm part of some fantastic women groups, and networking groups. And to me, I don't see it as work. I see it as connection. That's the way I approach it, is really developing really great connection with people and relationships. And that's so fulfilling to me.
Yeah, you know, the way you describe it, it's like a lifestyle as opposed to
Yes.
separating work and social life. You have a lifestyle, and this is all part of it.
Yes. Yes. And you have to make the right choices of, again, who you want to surround yourself with, right? So making sure that the choices you make are actually aligned to that purpose and the thing that you're trying to achieve.
I love it.
All about alignment.
I love it. This was fantastic, Brooke. Everyone that's listening, Brooke's information will be in the show notes. She's doing amazing work out there. Whether you're an entrepreneur with a company or a CEO with a company or an individual that just knows that they either want to find where they're supposed to be or find how to perform at the higher level, then she is your lady. So we will have her information in the show notes. With that being said, Brooke, are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh, sure. Bring it on.
Let's go. So, what is the best book you've read in the last 6 months?
Oh my goodness.
She said she was ready, folks. She said she was ready.
Okay, so it's got to be one of these, the culture system right there. The
Culture
culture
system.
system is
Okay.
one of my favorite. I have a lot of tidbits that I pull from that, and I always share with CEOs or leaders, because it helps with identifying changes that need to be made.
I am adding that to the list. I have not read that one. is who wrote the culture system, or is there
Oh, I
only?
have to check.
Okay.
I have to check. Nurbin. Jpnerbun. I'm so bad at remembering authors and names of books. I am the same way with songs and movies. Oh, just don't rely on me for that
Don't you
stuff.
worry. Don't you worry. Okay. Favorite TV, not favorite, but the best in the last 6 months, TV show or movie. She's like, I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I have no
No,
idea what you're talking
I
about.
don't. I don't. The only thing I can think of is some zombie show that my husband has been making me watch. And I only do it because it's the mindless thing that you have to have at the end of the day
Oh, that is
sometimes.
hilarious. Don't let him listen to this episode. You're gonna break his heart. Okay. You know what? That's fine. Well, next question. The best meal you've had, and we want restaurant and whatever you ordered
Oh, good one.
last 6 months.
So I just found out. Okay, so I'm starting along with another woman in the Rock Hill area, starting a Rock Hill chapter women's business league,
Cool.
and really excited about it. We're making history here with that because women need support here. But she suggested we have our first event at a little restaurant called Corks, Cooks, and Books.
Ooh,
They sell books.
okay.
The two owners, one is the publisher, the other one is the book writer. They came together, became best friends. It's Mindy and Shonali. They're fantastic. And they make the absolute best food. I mean, they've got an indoor area. Sometimes they have music. They've got an outdoor area. That's fantastic. You
Sure.
can go in and read a book. They have little goodies they sell. Again, the food is amazing. It's like the real delectable, almost like Charleston style. When I think of the food there, it's like Charleston style food
Well,
because it's just so unique and
where is it? Where
delicious.
is the restaurant again?
It's in Rock Hill,
Rock Hill.
in the heart of Rock Hill. I believe it's off of India Hook Road.
Okay,
Yes.
again, folks, this is also going to be in the show notes. But I mean, gosh, when you describe that, the culture alone sounds, I mean,
Yes,
how it all came together, I have to figure out what that's about. So
yes,
thank you. Okay, last
absolutely.
question. The best experience you've had in the last 6 months.
So I would have to say first and foremost is seeing my son start kindergarten. It has been amazing and incredible to see him grow. It's, kind of sad as a mom to see him grow like he is so quickly, but at the same time, he's a sponge and learning. I've also had the opportunity to work with some amazing organizations that have been so willing to make change, and that is also very fulfilling for me. It like makes my heart skip a beat. It really does. So nothing compares to my family and my son, but my clients are a near second when it comes to their willingness to change.
We'll take
Yeah.
it. Brooke, this was awesome. Thank you for spending time with us and sharing everything you shared with us today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and it's been fantastic getting to know you.
Absolutely.
And that was Brooke Elliott. She's doing amazing things out there with her new endeavor, coaching, consulting, and speaking all over the country. You might have listened to this episode and thought to yourself, wow, she really leveraged her career into something that has just given her the freedom to do what she likes. And this is actually important to note because the cool thing that I love about the medical sales career is you can give it your all. You can receive all the compensation and reward you put out there and still leverage what you did with your career into another career that can give back and help with just as much impact. And that's exactly what Brooke's doing. So you already know what I'm going to say. If you're thinking, well, I need to get started, and to get started, I need to get into medical sales. And to make that happen, well, where do I make that happen? You make that happen at evolvesuccess.com. So make sure you visit evolvesuccess.com, fill out the application, schedule some time with one of our account executives, and let's get you exactly where you want to be. As always, we do our best to bring you guests that are doing things differently in the medical sales space. And I really do hope you tune in next week for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.